So thank you for joining us. And I am now honored to welcome Joshua Liston-Zawadi, who will be presenting Using Creativity and Fathers to Stomp Out Maternal Health Issues. Joshua.
Thank you so much. So let me share my screen really quickly. Um, I am very much an informal instructor, right? So I don't subscribe to the norms of most spaces that do academic work. I have been teaching, at least in this realm of fatherhood work, 5 to 6 years. And in that time, I've realized how unorthodox I am. So I'm giving you the warning now. My apologies. I'm very unorthodox. Okay. So using creativity and fathers to stomp out maternal health issues. I am Joshua Liston-Zawadi. Some of you may have had the privilege of being in my wife's session on Thursday. You will see some differences, but you will see a couple slides that look the same, including the Beyonce frame, because that's just our favorite one to go to. So the agenda today is we're going to take a quick journey, not too long, a quick journey. You're going to take a ride with me. I'm going to do some knowledge sharing on how Dad Doula got here, but what Dad Doula does that goes outside the norm of what normal doula services looks like, and then connections at the end, okay? So, like I said from my wife's slide, please in the chat, go ahead and let me know which number of Beyonce are you today? 1 versus 6. To be in true full transparency, I'm probably close to 5 or 6. I am hungry, and that is going to create a 5 or 6 for me. But in the chat, feel free to tell me where you are. What number of Beyonce are you? Definitely 3. I get it. It's early. I get it. It's so I'm an hour behind you all. So it's 8:50 in the morning here. So it's early. I get it. Threes make sense to me across the board. Four, four, four. I like to see the fours. I'm happy we got some happy people today. I love it. I, on the other end, I'm a solid 5, 6 because I'm hungry, but that's okay. I'll work through it. Thank you for participating. I appreciate it all.
Really sure how people go about
I'm gonna go back to and say I want to preface. So this is a very emotional outburst you're about to see. And I'll give this to you in context to let you know that maternal health doesn't just affect mothers. It doesn't just affect birthing people. Maternal health is a much broader issue that we don't bring enough um, light to. And so the next video you're going to see is a small snippet of how I felt, which is why I created the program. Okay. So there's no vulgar language, no trigger warnings, but you're going to see a man be very vulnerable. So listen to him and we'll talk about it at the end.
Not really sure how people go about handling the transition from 1 to 2 kids. I feel like it's like really hard because in so many different ways. Because I think one is I can really tell that my son is having a hard time. Like obviously his whole life has changed. And so he's having a hard time, like he's feeling stir crazy. You can just kind of tell he's having a hard time. Like this morning, I was like, hey, like let's go on a walk and we'll bring the baby with us. Super fun. Like we can just do a little brother walk, right? And he was like, no, please, like just be us. Like you're my best friend. Please just hang out with me, please. And I was like, oh my gosh, sorry. Like the first night he slept in his own bed. And he just kept waking up, like silently crying to himself. And I was like, what's wrong? He's like, I just want someone to snuggle me. And I was like, okay. And so I spent like the last 2 nights in his like little tiny bed, 3 feet long. But it is hard because like obviously I'm trying so hard to take care of him, right? And make sure he's feeling like accepted and okay. But I like every time we leave our little baby, I like die a little bit inside because like that's just so hard for me is to miss out on those little moments. Really hard transition for me, and I know it's really hard for him, and I know it's hard for my wife too. And we're figuring it out. So if you have any tips, I would love to hear him talk.
I'm gonna let that sink in for a second because that was a lot. And as we let that sink in, I want to let you know there's 2 reasons why I showed that video. Number one, uh, a father who is in tune with his family often has moments like that. I'll never forget the moment baby Love was born, and I had to figure out how to integrate baby number 4 into the lives of baby number 1, 2, and 3. because even though they're older, they're still babies, right? They still need the attention. They still want the attention. They still crave the attention. And I had a wife who had dealt with postpartum depression. So my eyes were on her to make sure she was okay. And when I tell you there was no support, we just had to fumble through it and figure it out. And so I empathize and sympathize with his cries because I know it very well. But this is me, Joshua Liston-Zawadi. Pronouns are he, him. I'm a founder and executive director of Dad Doula, as well as Life Redefined, my nonprofit. I'm a CHW or a community health worker. I'm a certified doula. I'm a storyteller. I'm a husband, father, brother, uncle, friend, APHA, which is the American Public Health Association, and WPHA, which is the Wisconsin Public Health Association member, and I co-chair the fatherhood track for APHA. I'm with the PRC here in Wisconsin. I'm an Army vet, and I'm also a minister. Okay, so just a little bit about me. So as we go forward, you understand where some of my pretenses come from. So we talk. This is about creativity and artistic, and yes, maternal health is my focus. But for the focus of what we're doing today, and what I do with my dads all the time is my life map. And so the life map is a tool used to help people navigate not just where they are, but how they got there and the purpose behind it. So Dad Doula is a course for non-birthing people. We navigate all 4 trimesters. I help fathers and non-birthing people champion whatever focal points they're looking to champion. I help them navigate everything from preparing for baby to babies here in the hospital. How do I take charge of the delivery suite? How do I alleviate the visible pressure that my birthing person is under? So forth and so on. I help navigate all that because if I don't, no one else will, right? And so we're going to go through my life map. I feel like it's very important for the purposes of understanding creativity and maternal health that we go through how I got here. So on your own, while you're at home with a piece of paper, feel free to do to your own life map. You'll be surprised on how what you went through at 14 prepared you for what you're doing right now. But you only get to see that when you go through the journey of what you've been through. So obviously, very first photo is going to be military. At 17, I joined the United States Army. I served for 10 and a half years, deployed twice to Iraq and Afghanistan. Had a ball and had some ups and downs. But what this period in my life gave me was the intestinal fortitude or the ability to be disciplined in other areas of my life. I went in as a 17-year-old boy and I came out a 28-year-old man who had learned a lot about myself in this journey. And so I needed that time frame to understand discipline, to understand different things, and to navigate those spaces. All right. So that is my first child. That is the oldest. That is KK Kalani. She was my Army baby. She was made while I was in the Army with her mother, and we were never in a relationship. It just kind of happened, right? And so what happened with this situation was this is my first taste of fatherhood. And to be very true, very real with you, because I lead with transparency in spaces. Um, she got a very different version of father than my children now do because I was military minded. So when she was born, I was just getting promoted. Me and her mother was not together. Her mother was in another relationship the whole time. So this was a one night situation that led to a pregnancy while she was in a relationship. So when she was born, the original thought was that she belonged to the boyfriend. So I was like, cool, I'm gonna keep trekking my military career. We're gonna keep going. To later find out when she was 4 that she was my daughter. So that's 4 years of my protection. That's 4 years of my support. That's 4 years of a lot of things that she did not get um me for. She had to navigate whatever situation she was in without my care, without my love. This is important, and I'll tie back in at the end why this part of my life is important. Because this is literally the groundwork of Dad Doula before Dad Doula was a thing. So as I told you, Symphony Zawadi is my wife, and this was our lovely day of deciding to become one. We got married while she was a month prior to birth. So we got married in on the 20th. Harlem came the 24th of the next month. So we got married, mini honeymoon in St. Louis because we didn't have time, both working in our careers, and came home and baby was here, just like that. This is a part of Dad Doula that no one really sees because without my wife, there's no Harlem. Without Harlem, if you look next to my head, you'll see the logo of Dad Doula. That's Harlem. Harlem is the birth of Dad Doula. And so because of that, um, without my wife, there'd be no Dad Doula, there'd be no work that I'm doing right now. So this part of my life is very pivotal in understanding how and why Dad Doula is a thing. Our nuanced relationship. I married my best friend, so we don't take any pictures seriously at all. And that is the relationship that cultivated the lessons that I had to learn to be a better father, a better husband, and ultimately the dad doula, right? So a lot of my growth that I went through happened after I do. You never, they say that there's a phrase that says that your wife or your husband or your spouse will be the biggest mirror to who you are. And so my partner had to point out some things in me that I didn't even understand were there, so that I could show up better and show up differently for the men and the non-birthing people that I serve within that do. That little bump on my wife's tummy is Harlem. That is baby love. That is baby number 4. This week, so we did a home birth, so that is our bed. We did it all at home. And it was a surreal situation because leading to this point, there was no support for me as far as becoming a father. There was no self-help books, there was no community I could sign up for, there was nothing. And so, in this moment before Harlem got here, I went to my doula and midwife who helped us give birth at home. And I vented hard. I said, look, this is crazy to me. What do you mean, Josh? There's no support for fathers who just want to know that they're doing it right. There's no support for non-birthing people to help them navigate their own emotions and be there for their partner at the same time. Social emotional learning for around uh, heterosexual males is not the highest. So a lot of us don't know any emotions outside of angry, happy, or sad. Those are the 3 key emotions that we know. No one helps us navigate that we are nuanced in ways that we have yet to touch. And so my doula and midwife laughed at me, and it wasn't like a condescending laugh. It was like, we know. And so now you're charged to create it. I said, what? You're going to create it. So in that moment of that conversation, my doula training started because my doula put me under her wing and taught me. Um, and then also at the same time, having to navigate social emotional learning became a key part of my doula training. Because if I can't teach men how to or non-birth people how to deal with their own emotions, those emotions bleed on birthing people. And the next thing you know, you have a whole slew of other issues within a birthing suite that you don't need. So here's a big picture. That's Harlem now. She's much bigger than that now. This is about a year ago because my locks are much longer. And maybe 2 years ago because my kids are now huge compared to, yeah. So about 2 years ago for Christmas. But this is the tribe, my wife, myself. Baby Love, aka Harlem, is the one in my arms. My oldest, Kalani, who got me from 4 till now, is the one hugging me. You got Kingston and Marley, my bonus babies, are my wife's kids before we got married. But we are one giant blended family. This lends to the work that Dad Doula can do and does do within these families after you go through this process. I have been doing this 4 years. I have yet to lose a mother. I have yet to lose a baby. And I've ended up marrying, I'm a minister, as I said, I ended up marrying a couple of them to their mothers of their children. So we are creating radical families in this process. So we're halfway through my life map from military to my oldest child to marriage to me and my wife becoming my biggest teacher. to the birth of Harlem, and then the completion of our tribe, the completion of our family. To this point, Dad Doula has just begun. So when Harlem was born, in that picture you saw, she was about 3. I was about 2 to 3 years into this work. Um, and having to navigate uh, Dad Doula from a lens of my own pain made this process a lot easier and digestible for the non-birthing people that we work with. And doing processes or systems like this life map with every dad, with every non-birthing person, to understand that you're equipped for what you're going to go through. You just didn't know it. Everything you've gone through prepares you for this place that you're in now. In 2020, my wife and I found out that we were expecting baby number 4. As we went through the process of preparing to become parents all over again, we decided that a home birth was our best option. Nervous, I am anxious, I'm excited, I'm thankful. As we went through this process, everyone on the caregiving team was so focused on my wife and her needs. So much so that they forgot her support team, myself. While she was feeling prepared for this new bundle of joy, I felt lost in confusion because no one took the time to input me, preparing to the best of my ability for what's next. So, yeah, that's it for me. I'm Joshua Zawadi. Fatherhood has nothing to do with what we have and everything to do with who we are. Please follow me on all social medias, follow the work I do, and I'll talk to you all soon. Let me first tell you that this video is like 3 years old. It's old. My locks are so new. It's crazy. Harlem's there. I'll go through the positives of Dad Doula in a second. But that video was the first video we created to tell the story. I have since done it 13,000 times. But there was no platform or program similar to mine anywhere. And so I had to find a way to tell the story in a way to let people know that fatherhood has to be first felt before you can deal with it. Right. And so, not to say that if you're not a father, you can't help fathers. Not what I'm saying. But if you don't deal with the emotional understanding of fatherhood or non-birthing personhood, depending on what the couple looks like, you can never help them get past what they're going through because the emotional and the psychological component is much bigger than the title and what we do. So I had to find a way to show that, and that video was the first iteration of it. So Dad Doula is designed to empower and guide fathers as they learn to support and advocate for their birthing partners by sharing stories, tools, resources, and social emotional strategies to promote the pursuit of healthy babies and healthy families. Let me say this again. Dad Doula is not about men. That's who I help. But Dad Doula is completely about family. The thing that we're missing in maternal health more than anything else is a focus on family. If you continue to put the focus on birthing people, people are going to continue to ignore it. The moment we put maternal health on a platform of family and helping people understand that this ignoring of maternal health is an attack on families, then we can get somewhere with this work. So my job is the pursuit to promote healthy babies and healthy families. So there's 3 things that I do artistically or creatively to help in the Dad Doula process. The first thing you see is those shirts. Each dad or non-birthing person that goes to the program gets the active shirt with an active QR code. That QR code takes you to their fatherhood mission statement. And what that is each of our non-birthing people will sit down with me before the birth of their child, and they will create a credo. It's their motto, it's their mission statement. It's how I'm going to show up for my birthing person and these children for the remainder of our relationship for the rest of our lives, because we're family now, right? And so sometimes these people, these men, these non-birthing people are not actively dating or in relationship with these non-birthing people or these birthing people. And so we have to foster an understanding, first off, that regardless of the relationship, you still owe that person a lifelong support because this person has now made you a non-birthing person. a parent. So therefore, you owe them a level of care and respect and love that even you may not want to give, but you're going to because you have to. It's part of creating the understanding that family and community is above it all. So as you see, they get a certificate of their name on it. On the far left-hand side is the father, the dad doula credo and the dad doula mission statement. And it basically says this person has made their conscious choice to navigate their fatherhood in a way to first put their family first, followed by their social emotional understanding. And I award this to all of them, and then they speak their mission statements to the mother of their children at the graduation. So it's a whole family event. They get their first family photos at this event, but we're going to give them the flowers for making a choice to do something that normally is not required of fathers. It's not required to get ready to become a non-birthing person or a father. It's not. And I changed that by saying it is required to do some work. If she has to prepare for 9 months and carry this baby, you need to prepare too. You got some work to do. And so we give them their flowers along the process. We focus on advocacy. So as you see, that's my wife in the background. That's baby love in her lap. She's hooked up to monitors. She was in the ER with our second or third case of mastitis. Um, and this is during COVID, so that's the mask is on. And they told my wife that she would not be allowed to breastfeed our newborn child. Mind you, this is the same hospital at the time that I was a surgical tech for. So I worked at this hospital. I was an employee. I'm sorry, I didn't give my medical credentials outside of CHW. I'm a certified surgical tech. I've been in healthcare almost 20 years and 2 years will be 20 years. And so I have been doing hospital or medical work for a very long time. And so this is my place of employment. My wife was crying because mastitis was kicking her butt, and you wouldn't let her relief by feeding our child. And they wouldn't let me in. Mind you, I had my hospital badge on. I couldn't go back there. So I stepped to the car, holding my newborn in the car seat. I called my doula. It was like 11 o'clock at night. My doula answers the phone and says, Josh, what's going on? I said, I need you to go to my house. There's a key under the mat. She said, okay. And in my closet on the floor is a black box. It's full of money because you're going to have to bail me out after I get done tearing this hospital to shreds. Josh, don't do it. Hold on. They just told my wife she cannot feed our child in a hospital. I'm finna cut up, and I might lose my job today, but okay, I'm gonna cut up. I hung up the phone. I went back, and the doctor knew me already. We did he was a surgical assistant on top of being a physician, so he already knew who I was. Hey, Josh, how you doing? I said, Doc, we got two choices. He said, what's up? You either allow my wife to breastfeed this child, or I'm going to take my wife out of here and we're going to go somewhere else and do it. You choose the best recourse. But if I have to take her out of here, I'm tearing this room up on my way out. You choose your recourse. He looked at me, mind you, I'm sitting down, so you can't tell. I am 6'3", 320 pounds ish. And Doc was about 5'9". And Doc looked at me and said, let that man feed his child because we don't know what kind of damage he'll do to this room. And that's how Harlem got in that lap, and that's how she got fed in that hospital. The key point of this is advocacy. If you don't learn anything else through the Dad Doula program, you're going to understand that your job as a non-birthing person is to advocate until you can't advocate anymore. True story, I have been kicked out of every hospital in Milwaukee at least twice. Every single one. And it's a badge of honor for me. That means I'm advocating until you can't deal with me no more. I'm cool. That's my job because I need that father, that non-birthing person to stay in that room because his job is to be there for her. My job is to be there for the family, and I will advocate until I can't anymore. So, like I said, I've been doing this now 4 years to the point where I walk into hospitals. It's Josh again. Okay, who's your client and what do you want? Thank you. I'm happy you understand now because this is going to be a long day for you if you don't. And so advocacy is key, and we teach that throughout the entire course. Lastly, is we are family curators. So the biggest picture of this process is understanding the need of family superseding the need of individual rights. And the hardest part to say is I tell fathers, you in maternal health, you literally don't matter. And it's not that I'm telling you that because I want to make you mad or I want to tear you down, but I need you to understand that you don't matter because the system makes it that way. You have to make the system see you. You have to make the system address you. And you do that through advocating properly with the knowledge of how to advocate, but also with putting your family above yourself. Every time I go to a doctor appointment, I'm there as a family member of this family person who's here to get care. It's not about me, but I will advocate until I can't no more because I'm here as a family unit. We do this as a family. Um, True story, I just had surgery about 20 weeks ago, maybe a little longer. My surgery was botched, and so I was hooked up to wires and tubes for 18 weeks. My wife turned into the world's biggest advocate overnight, as I did for her while she was pregnant. That is the power of the family unit when you do it right. It's to the point where everybody, and I'm a vet, so I go to VA. Everybody in the VA knew my wife by first name. Oh, that's Symphony. We know what she's here for. Let her go. And they didn't question her anymore because they knew what she was here for. And so that is the power of what you do when you do this right, what can be done. So the roadmap from Army soldier all the way to family advocates and doing this work for families. That is what my life prepared me for. Being a soldier, the Army has a creed where it's mission over individual. So being selfless was already put into me. My baby girl Kalani, who did not get me for the first 4 years of her life, now gets to see how this work impacts families to make sure that doesn't happen to anybody else's kid, regardless of the relationship and how it panned out. All the way down to the end of advocacy and giving flowers, right? So this is the power of artistically or creatively thinking outside the box to illustrate and show people why and how we need to do things to make things happen. So Dad Doula, and I told you earlier, I'll come back. Dad Doula affects or focuses on three types of non-birthing people. Number one is the new dad. So first time child, doesn't understand what he's doing. I got him. The second one is the second coming parent. So you already have a child, but you need help navigating how to introduce child one with child two, or how to integrate the family because it just got bigger. Which is why I showed you the first video earlier. I've reached out to that young man and told him to call me so we can do some dad doula stuff so he can learn how to navigate because he is his child's best friend. And there's an and here, you have a new child who you'll also be their best friend too. And so you have to navigate both sides of things. And father number three is the absentee father, a father who has no stake or no relationship with his children based upon whatever the circumstance is. The reason I chose those three fathers very selfishly is because I was all three. Even though I didn't know she was my child till she was 4, I was still an absentee father until she was 4. I didn't know she was mine. My absence spoke louder than my presence. The first time dad technically would have been Harlem because I didn't have any kids, but technically my first child. I hadn't gone through any birth processes because the first one wasn't, I didn't know she was mine. And then the second coming was also Harlem, integrating Harlem or baby love into the family unit so that they all felt seen, heard, and understood while I'm still trying to nurture and create a bond and love on this new child. So this is the roadmap. This is how we creatively show non-birthing people, and I do it with doulas too, helping them understand that what you have to do the job has already been programmed. It's already there. So this is how we navigate creatively maternal health. So this is me. Feel free to stay connected with me. I'm on all social media platforms, Facebook and Instagram primarily, as Melanated Daddy. And on Instagram, you have Dad Doula University. And then my nonprofit is on Facebook and Instagram at Life Redefined MKE. It's my website. You can scan the barcode. It will give you all my stuff. I'll put it back up in a second. I'll give you a few seconds if you want it. If not, that's fine. And then the next one will be And we'll jump to the next one now. Last thing is maternal health is not a women's issue, it's a family issue. That's my phrase, that's my shirt. I have it all printed on all kind of stuff because it's not, and that's the facts of maternal health. Maternal health has nothing to do with birthing people. Maternal health is the lack of care because the family has yet to speak up about it. And that's why we end up how we end up now. So now my job is to create radical families that advocate for birthing people so they don't have to advocate for themselves. They can just be. And that's the hope. That's what we're working on now. Okay, do me a solid favor. There's a QR code there. You're going to tell me how great or how horrible I did. I need this. So I am not shy. I'm not scared of feedback. Give it to me. Josh, you did great. Josh, you're horrible. Your hair's too long. Put it all in there. It's okay. I'll take it. Let me know how you feel. Let me know how you enjoyed it, how you didn't like it, and then give me criticism. Let me know what I can do better next time, please. Because to give me criticism is one thing, but to empower me to be better the next time, that's what I want. And so I'll leave this up for a few seconds so you all can scan it, scan it, scan it, scan it. Let me know how good I was or how bad I was. I'll take both. Yeah, I don't want only good feedback, so give me all of it. And that is the end of the presentation. I will take questions. I will answer anything you have for me. I'm not shy. I see someone's in the chat. I haven't read it though. I've been talking the whole time, y'all. Is there a link? Yes, I can share the link with you. Give me 2 seconds. Give me 2 seconds.
I was trying to type it out, but I can't actually see the whole thing in my well, maybe I can. Let's see.
I got it. I am going to put it in the chat. The perks of being Apple to Apple is I can send things to myself. So
There you
I'll
go.
I'll take care of that. That's not a problem. Mhm. It is coming in 6 seconds. I gotta first send it to my wife and then go from there. I'm going to stop sharing my screen and I'm going to accept any questions that you all may have for me. And I'm going to type that in the chat.
Awesome. I guess I have one question, but really I first want to say how moving this work is and how you have been able to recognize that, men and boys don't often have a way to access emotional range, and that's really powerful. And then yeah, to just recognize like I think you're right, like when there's a birth, the focus is on the mother, and it's almost like it's like when there's stuff going on in the world and you're trying to be an activist and you're trying, and you're not taking care of yourself. It's sort of like that similar principle. Like, how can you help the mother if you're not in a place where you can move from yourself? So anyway, this is really amazing work. So thanks for sharing it with us.
Thank you.
I'm going to speak up, but you won't. I'm not come on camera, and I'm actually Ermin King. I don't know how I'm being labeled as Rachel, but anyway, probably the link I used to get onto the webinar. But I wanted to ask, what is the continuity from the actual work that you're doing with birthing people? Thinking from the perspective of children, also, these children are born now. They're having access to a father. But as they continue to develop, how does the father's involvement through your work remain consistent?
That's
And also
an
for the mother.
I'm sorry, I don't want to cut you off. So if you want, if there's more, go ahead. I don't
Just
want.
saying for the whole family, but I, as someone who lived without my father a very long time, I'm hypersensitive to father loss as a person develops beyond being born. So how does this go on to continue supporting throughout development of the child and in the relationship with the mother?
I love that question. I really do. So that doula is programmed or is situated in the maternal health birth space. Now, my cohorts don't stop just because baby's here. So after baby gets here, I enter each one of these non-birthing persons or fathers into a larger community of past recipients, elders, other dads. So I've been doing this for years. So this community is pretty broad now at this point. And we add them in and we continue to sharpen, continue to have conversations, continue to meet, continue, and I make myself available past the birthing stage. So I have a dad right now whose daughter just turned 14. And he still calls me to ask all the questions. Perfect example. He called me yesterday. I got a daddy-daughter dance. What color should I wear? Ask your child. I don't know. Ask your baby what color she want to wear. She'll tell you, and then you go by, right? And so we don't stop at the birth because our focus is family. So your family continues to change. We're here to change with you. So whatever you go, whatever you need in this process, I make myself available for all of that.
Well, I'll just say, as far as I'm aware, and I've looked into this a good deal, you are, as you said, the only initiative that's really starting from birth or prior to birth, actually, and moving through with consistency in these key relationships. It's just extraordinary. Thank you so much
Thank you
for the
so
work
much.
you're doing.
Thank you so much. My hope is that I won't have to be the only one. That's the hope, right? Because yes, I've spoken in every arena and every place. I did the donor conference for the doulas this year. I need there to be more of this so that we can have less outcomes like the ones we continue to have in maternal health. And to your point, children growing up without fathers. I grew up without a father, and I never understood how much it affected me until I became one. And my wife had to help me through that work of dealing with not having a father, not knowing my biological, like all these other issues flooded me as soon as I became a dad because I didn't have a roadmap. So I had to find a way to be the best version of myself because I didn't have a model to show me. And so it's so many issues arise in children as they grow when there is not a father present.
And I'll just quickly say, from what I've looked into for girls without, it's it's uh, not feeling love worthy, prone to eating disorders, just a whole host of symptoms, I guess one could say, that evolve from that, including the psychological role that the father plays to help the girl navigate into the adult world. So all of that seems to be underground and not known. I think it's a public health crisis.
I'm in agreement with you. All of it is, but I'm bigger, right? I think this is bigger than just a public health. This is an attack, and I'm very, very serious when I say this is not just a black or brown or this is a family across color issue where we have allowed and taken men out of the house and taking fathers out of position and then wonder why our children have the issues they have. Small story, and I'll shut up. My wife has Marley, which is her oldest. She's my second oldest. And my wife constantly has to tell me, Josh, my days of encouraging Marley are done. She needs to hear from daddy. Huh? What do you mean? For our whole marriage, we've done affirmations, and my wife has told Marley every day how beautiful she is. The moment I did it, something changed in Marley. And I was like, what just happened? She needed her daddy. She didn't need me no more. Her image of herself now comes from you. Because you're here, you got to talk. So now every day, man, look at my beautiful girl. Thank you, daddy. And it does something to her that I didn't even recognize, but it took my wife to tell me, baby, she needs more of. Okay, I can do that. I had to learn how, right? And as I'm doing, you can see the change in her. She's switching from locks to natural hair, and so that in between stages, the ugly stages they call it, and she hates it. But the moment I said, "Baby, your hair looks amazing. I love how you did that." Oh, thank you, Daddy, and it changed everything. right? And so understanding the power that we possess in the lives of our children is part of the process. And so, yes, thank you so much, Ms. Ehrman, I believe. Thank you for your contribution. I appreciate that.
Hi, thank you so much. This is Hannah. I also don't have my camera on, but thank you so much for this presentation. It's an issue that is near and dear to me as well. I'm a fellow presenter and presented yesterday on maternal death rates. How do you address and tackle um, the disparities in maternal health outcomes across race? I know you said it is, and I definitely agree, it's an attack on the whole family across the board. But how do you empower those who are more at risk and also those who have an area of privilege within this space? How do you sort of tackle that with the fathers and the non-birthing people?
I think the first part is acknowledging the bias that those people have. And
Mhm.
that's a very broad answer, but the answer is so I'll give an example. I am teaching a class with the City of Milwaukee Health Department to the birth workers who are doing this work.
Mm,
And the first part of my class is let's talk about your bias. So these are PDs. Let's talk about your bias. What do you mean? I don't have any bias. How many of you all had to give birth to a child? Every doula hand shoots up. I did it. I did it twice. How many of you all have given birth to a child without a partner present? Hands go up. Du-du-du-du-du. How many of you all ignore the partner that of the person who you're helping become and go through this transition of motherhood? And they're like, oh, wait, there was a complete correlation between birthing people who did not have support and doulas who ignore partners of birthing people.
wow.
A complete correlation. And they just looked at me like, Josh, that was unfair. I'm not doing this to hurt you. You need to understand your bias. Because if you don't understand your bias, you can never do more than what you're doing. You have to understand the bias. So the first part is helping those of privilege. So understand their biases and understand their ignorances. They go hand in hand. My
Hmm.
bias and my ignorance is always connected. I am currently working in Wisconsin with some lawmakers to look at making the week of Father's Day called National Paternal Mental Health Week. And I want that whole week to be focused on paternal mental health and ways to help these non-birthing people navigate their mental health in a way to stop bleeding on birthing people.
Mm,
And so, but once again, it comes with understanding bias, understanding what I don't and my ignorance of what I don't know. So privilege comes with the ability to maintain those stances without having to change it, right? I don't
mhm,
have to worry about changing because I have the privilege of not having to. When in reality, your ignorance is damaging more than what you know. And we help them. So you have to help them navigate their privilege and their ignorance. And then number two is creating a safe space for that change to occur. Because sometimes that change hurts.
mm.
I've had politicians take the Dad Doula course, and they look at me like, Josh, I had no idea. I know you didn't. That's why this course is here. That's exactly why I'm here. That men don't understand that being pregnant is the equivalent of working a 40-hour job. Just being pregnant. It's 40 hours a week on the body. Not getting up, not cooking meals, not washing my body, not going to the grocery store, not going to work. No, just being pregnant. It's 40 hours a week. And you don't understand that because society makes it a privilege as a man to not have to understand that.
Mm.
We got to undo that and we got to do that work. So I hope to answer your question.
Yeah.
You got to deal with the bias and the ignorance, and then you have to create a safe space. As tough as I am on these non-birthing people, my safest space. My space is safe. I'm sorry. And so because of that, I can charge you up and call out what I see, and I'm going to hold you as you do your work to become better. I also have a therapist on staff. So sometimes it's too big for me. Go call my therapist. They'll take care of you. It's included. I got you. Go. And it's because sometimes these things are so deep rooted that you need a professional to help you get that out of you. So yes, that would be my approach. I hope that answered the question.
Yes, thank you so much.
No problem. Thank you for being here.
I have a question about how are you getting the word out, and like, is it local only, or are you doing this online? And I mean, how can you how can we help you expand your reach, I guess?
So, beautiful question. Thank you for asking. I am everywhere. So, I am virtual, I am in person. City of Milwaukee, it is completely free through partnerships. So, I have partnerships with the City of Milwaukee Health Department that pay for this work for all the men. So, they don't pay a dime. They just got to show up. And so, because of that, we don't charge. And then I don't charge. My wife's gonna cuss me out for saying this because she's in the room. I personally don't charge for the ignorance of what you didn't already have. You should have already known this, but society makes it comfortable to not. So if you are a man who wants to be better, I will make it as free as possible for you to get this work so that we don't have to lose another mother. We don't have to lose another child. We don't have to go through all that other stuff. I will get paid on the back end through God, through whatever. You just do what you got to do to show up for your people. So I have literally done, uh, I'm international now. So I've done a Dubai class. I've had a family in Canada. I've had a same-sex couple in Canada, Georgia, Milwaukee, Jersey. If there's Zoom there, I can get you. We'll make it work. And so I'm everywhere. It doesn't matter to me as long as I can know. Two things: you have to be serious about this work. Like it's not about you; it's about your loved one. But then you, on the flip side, is we have to also not just be serious about the work, but be serious about the change necessary that I'm going to call out of you. If you're not ready to change, let's not waste each other's time. Because the paradigm shift is the first thing I start with in the program. I am going to mess your mind up, and that's okay. Know it's coming and be prepared to be different every day. So those are two things I have. Be serious about the work and be serious about the change necessary to make sure we don't continue to have these maternal issues.
I have another, it's Ermin question logistically, and in terms of the breadth of your reach, do you envision at any point a train the trainer model where, or are, because I don't know if you're continuing your medical tech, you have many different hats that you wear, and I'm not sure how you can go international and wear all of them simultaneously. It's not my business, but it just seems like a very big job. And I hope you're getting the support you need to go international and nationally with this.
So most of my hats are all worn at the same time. So right now, as I'm talking to you, I got 15 hats to reference from. The only hat I don't wear regularly, unless I have to, is my surgical tech hat. That hat is on the shelf. I don't touch that one anymore. My
Okay.
CHW hat is intertwined into Dad Doula. My ministry hat is intertwined into Dad Doula. My doula hat is the hat of Dad Doula. So they all go together. As far as the support, my wife is really good at keeping me organized. We are a two-headed monster. So, like the logo behind me, all this stuff you see here, that's her. I just show up and do the work. She set all this up already. So I am supported to an extent. I think the next step for me, according to my wife, is the train the trainer model, or we are looking at an e-course model to
Mm.
where I can send you a link, you pay for it, you do your course, and then you schedule one-on-one time with me if you have questions or support needed, and I do it that way. We have a lot of healthcare systems, especially in Texas, who are interested in the e-course. I don't know why, but they want an e-course in Texas. So me and my wife are actively juggling what's our next step of elevation. Because here in the city of Milwaukee, I have um four different partnerships going at one time. And so I'm always like, Josh, at some point you won't be able to do all this. So what's next? Okay, cool. We'll figure it out when we get there is always my answer. And she's like, no, we're there. So what we doing? Okay, we'll figure it out. So to answer your question, support will come as I elevate because my wife won't let me not do it. But there will be a day and time where I will have to train people to do this as I continue because my goal is legislation. And the next 5 years, I want to step out of not out of dad doula. I'll always be dad doula, but I want to be dad doula for the legislature to help them understand why our laws need to look the way they need to look to support our families. So that's the next step for me. I gave myself a 5 year window to get there, and we're almost there. So once I'm there, I will be doing that work as my trainers will have to do the work I'm doing now.
Thank you.
Thank you. I want to personally thank you all for coming. I appreciate it. I was nervous. This was my very first art conference. I stick it to the maternal lane all the time. I was like, we're gonna do something outside the box. Let's see what this. So I'm excited. It was fun. Thank you all for being here. Thank you all for giving me the space and taking the time of your time to just show you what Dad Doula does. If you have any questions or concerns, I'm emailable, I'm textable, I'm online. Find me. Let me know what you need from me.